Look at this stadium. It cost over £1 billion to build. Behind it is a global empire of more than 650 supporters clubs spread across 60 different countries, generating hundreds of millions in revenue every year. This is the definition of a modern mega club. Yet, as we sit here in late April 2026, Tottenham Hotspur are 18th in the Premier League, and the analysts at Opta give them a 60% chance of dropping into the second tier of English football. To understand how they got here, we actually have to look at last season. Spurs finished an abysmal 17th in the league, but they won the Europa League. That trophy secured them a spot in the Champions League, which completely papered over the cracks and delayed the reckoning by 12 full months. Now, the temporary fix has worn off. The flaws they tried to hide are fully exposed, and there is nowhere left to hide. You can see the fractures right on the pitch. After a bruising match against Wolverhampton, manager Roberto De Zerbi pointed directly at the squad's psychological fragility, openly questioning their ability to stay strong in the head when the pressure mounts. That fragile mentality has been pushed to the breaking point by a physical crisis. The medical room is overflowing, with devastating injuries sidelining key players, most notably taking out their creative engine, Xavi Simons, right when they needed him most. When a club of this magnitude starts free-falling toward relegation, it is rarely due to a single bad tactical decision. It happens because the physical, mental, and operational pillars of the team all give way at the exact same time. Let's break down the money. For the 2025 financial year, Tottenham reported massive revenues of £565 million. That towering figure is supported by distinct pillars: £126.5 million from matchday income, £127 million from TV and media, and a staggering £277 million in commercial revenue. The BBC estimates that dropping out of the Premier League will instantly wipe out roughly £261 million from that annual total. Their income is cut in half overnight, but their operational costs remain firmly locked at an elite level. To soften this blow, the Premier League uses parachute payments. Relegated clubs receive a declining percentage of the top-flight broadcast revenue over 3 years, specifically 55%, then 45%, and finally 20%. In practice, that translates to about £49 million in year 1, £40 million in year 2, and under £18 million in year 3. As you can see, these payouts barely make a dent in a £261 million crater. Relegation doesn't push Tottenham into bankruptcy on day one. Instead, it traps them in an entirely different nightmare, trying to sustain a Champions League payroll on a championship budget. And they have almost no buffer to absorb that hit. According to their 2025 accounts, the club's available cash reserves have dwindled to just £20.4 million. Contrast that tiny cash pool with their towering obligations. Tottenham's net debt has climbed to over £831 million, and they owe another £300 million in transfer payables for players they've already bought. With cash running out and debts looming, the club will be forced into an immediate, massive fire sale. They have to dump heavy contracts to clear wage space and generate cash simultaneously. That means sacrificing their most highly marketable assets. Top-tier internationals like Christian Romero, who command massive transfer fees, will be the first ones pushed out the door. Even the players who want to stay will face severe pressure. Player contracts often include clauses that automatically trigger a 50% wage reduction upon relegation, forcing remaining stars to look for an exit just to protect their earnings. The math leaves no room for sentimentality. Dropping down a division dictates a brutal, mandatory liquidation of their best talent just to keep the lights on in North London. But going down isn't necessarily a death sentence. The club's world-class physical infrastructure, including their elite training center at Hotspur Way, remains entirely intact and ready to support a rebuild. They also possess an emerging youth core. Highly rated prospects like Archie Gray, alongside a thriving under-21 academy, offer the exact kind of young, hungry foundation required for a genuine sporting reset. The problem is at the very top. Daniel Levy, the man who shielded the board from outside turbulence for decades, is gone. That classic leadership structure has dissolved, leaving the hierarchy highly vulnerable. The new regime is led by CEO Vinay Venkatesham, and ownership group ENIC has already had to inject £35 million of fresh capital into the 2025 accounts. If the club falls into the championship, that $35 million won't be nearly enough. Ownership will instantly be forced to either find a massive new minority investor to bail them out or execute a ruthless, top-to-bottom teardown of their entire business model. Because of their immense commercial power outside of football and the long-term structure of their stadium debt, Tottenham likely won't fall into immediate administration. The true existential threat is far worse. They risk entering a sporting purgatory, a club simply too big, too expensive, and too corporate for the second tier. Imagine a massive ocean liner trying to execute a U-turn in a narrow canal. The club is too bloated with expensive contracts and too traumatized by the drop to simply dominate lower league opposition and bounce right back to the Premier League. Relegation forces the club to finally confront the excruciating, unavoidable rebuilding process they have spent years trying to outrun.